that's neither here nor there. So, it is our Thanksgiving episode now. I was bemoaning the fact that there weren't any Thanksgiving stories or there's Thanksgiving is the middle child of the winter holidays. We have Halloween, we have Christmas, and Thanksgiving kind of gets the short shift. There's no shrift. There's no Thanksgiving songs. There's really no Thanksgiving movies. I guess Planes, Trains, and Automobiles might be. That might take place during Christmas though. I'm not for sure. But I was like, there has to be some Thanksgiving conspiracies out there. Now, I did find a story about a Thanksgiving ghost about a young woman. It was so bizarre. This woman, it's like she killed herself over love, and then her ghost is haunting this hotel. And then I read a little bit more of the article, and they're like, she was married, but she was having an affair. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. So, that story. And anyways, the ghost just floated down the hallway. Those aren't really compelling ghost stories. And then I was like, well, maybe there are some good murders. We're a true crime podcast. Maybe there's some good murders on Thanksgiving. Come on, give me a horrible tragedy for my episode. And I looked, and there was a couple families slaughtered. But, surprise, surprise, most family slaughter stories take place during Christmas. And there was one interesting story on Thanksgiving where there was this guy, his house kept getting burglarized. And he was like, I'm tired of my house getting broken into. So this doesn't deserve a whole segment, but it's definitely worth talking about for a moment or two. So there was this guy, and it's super vague, but it's in the show notes. So there was this guy, it was Thanksgiving. This is in the 90s, I think. I should have been more prepared for this segment, but he's sitting in his basement, and he got tired of his house getting broken into all the time. And these two teenage people who had been breaking into his house came in. And one of them started walking into the basement, and he shot him with his rifle, and the body tumbles down the stairs, and he finished him off. And then at that point, the burglar's cohort / cousin, a young woman, came to the top of the stairs, and the homeowner shot her too, and she tumbled down the stairs, and then he put the gun underneath her chin, blew her brains out. Now, this is notable for two reasons. One, the entire thing was recorded, because his house was getting burglarized, for a long time. He had cameras everywhere. He had audio recording, video recording. So the police were able to watch from the moment that people were outside the house to the point where he was shooting them. And because it was recording the whole time, they had video footage and audio footage of him kind of muttering to himself. He waited in the basement all day long. It was 6 hours he was just in the basement. He knew they were going to try to break in. And so he argued that he had the right to shoot them because they were in his house. The castle doctrine is a thing in a lot of states in America. You can defend your home. The police argued that he was lying in wait. He was down there for too long with his rifles ready to go, which is different. And the fact that he was kind of muttering in the darkness, practicing what he was going to say afterwards. And the fact that he finished him off. He shot him, and then he, as they were laying on the ground, he shot him more times. That's Thanksgiving related because he did it on Thanksgiving, and he didn't call the police till the next day. He goes, I didn't want to ruin your Thanksgiving. I wanted you guys to have a good meal. He was eventually found guilty of 2 counts. I think it was first degree because he was lying in wait, which is a special circumstance. He got life in prison for that. But yeah, I kind of stumbled across that. I was expecting more family massacres. There were a few. I'm disappointed that didn't happen, but there were a few. Nothing notable though. Okay, so I found a couple of tidbits of Thanksgiving trivia that you can share with your family. Okay, so here's some Thanksgiving-based interesting facts. And not how much a turkey weighs when it dies or stupid stuff like that. But so we know the traditional story of Thanksgiving was the Pilgrims were like, oh, I don't have nothing to eat. And then the Native Americans showed up and was like, here's some food. And they ate and they had a good time. And then there was other stuff, people started slaughtering each other afterwards, the original family massacre. But you had a long period of time where that was just kind of a nice story to tell. The idea of actually Thanksgiving being a holiday didn't really pop up until the mid 1800s. There was an author named Sarah Joseph Buell Hale. I'll just call her Mrs. Hale. Anyway, or we'll just call her Sarah because I like that name. So Sarah wanted to really she thought Thanksgiving needed to be this time where people get together and celebrate family. And she was an author, and she would write scenes in her books where everyone's like, isn't Thanksgiving great? And the holiday didn't even exist, but she was putting it into her books, and it was people eating all this food, having a great time, and readers were like, oh, that would be really awesome if this was real. She was the equivalent of It'd be the equivalent of watching stars and being like, man, I wish I had a lightsaber, but she did that with Thanksgiving. So she was really pushing for Thanksgiving to be this holiday. Now, during the Civil War, Lincoln was thinking, you know what, this actually might be a good way to bring the people together. Like both sides, if we had this time where people were like, let's appreciate what we have and everybody knew that Sarah was doing this big. So Lincoln didn't just like come up with this out of the blue, but people were talking that this could be a good moment for people to just take thanks for what they have. You know, it was a national tragedy, everyone's dying, all sorts of stuff. And so Sarah wrote Lincoln a letter saying, I think Thanksgiving would be a great idea. Like, we could use this to help bridge the gap between the North and the South. That's all she cared about was getting Thanksgiving made. Well, anyway, so Lincoln, before he even got that letter, thought, you know what, we need to have this national day that brings the country together. And this was Abraham Lincoln's version of Thanksgiving. This is what he had in mind for a day of giving thanks. He wanted it to be a day, this is in his words, a day of public humiliation, prayer, and fasting. So you wouldn't eat. It's the opposite of Thanksgiving. You wouldn't eat, and you would publicly humiliate yourself. And it would start with the people acknowledging the supreme government of God and bowing in humble submission to his chastisements. They were then to publicly confess and deplore their sins and transgressions and beg for forgiveness. I don't see that holiday ever really taking that wouldn't work. I don't want to know your public sins, man, because people are weird. I don't want to know. I mean, if a friend came to me and said, hey, listen, I'm going through some trouble, that's fine. But I don't want to be walking on the street and seeing people publicly humiliate themselves. And actually, that's interesting. Why do you want people to publicly humiliate themselves and publicly confess their sins? Because really, it's kind of the same thing. Because people are going to confess stuff that is quite humiliating. That's why they kept it secret in the first place. Can you imagine the town? Like, we have town, everyone comes out into the town for Halloween, and everyone comes out into town for Christmas. I don't want to walk down the street while people are being like, oh, I'm so bad, I ate all that food. Oh, I'm so bad, I cheated on my wife. Please, God. That would be horrifying. But that was Abraham Lincoln's vision for the original Thanksgiving. So while you're eating that turkey, or doing whatever you do on Thanksgiving, it's probably eating turkey. Imagine, it could be far worse if Abraham Lincoln got his way. Oh, and, fun note, I found this out too. Abraham Lincoln was the first president to pardon a turkey. This is conspiracy. Abraham Lincoln was the first president to pardon a turkey. And then no other president pardoned a turkey until John F. Kennedy. No joke. John F. Kennedy, first president since Lincoln to pardon a turkey. 3 days later, he was shot in the head. Ugh. Okay, but one more Thanksgiving-related tidbit. I found this absolutely hilarious. So Thanksgiving always kind of gets brushed under the rug. If this was a part of Thanksgiving today, it would be the most popular holiday on the planet. So on Thanksgiving Day, they had this thing basically called Ragamuffin Day. So what you would do, this was in New York, but you would get people in New York would get frying pans. Let me stop laughing here, because this is very serious. This is a very, very serious topic. People in New York on Thanksgiving Day, they would take their frying pans and they would throw pennies in the frying pan and heat them up, make them really, really hot, right? People were poor back then. So if you saw a penny on the ground, you'd pick it up, especially children, because pennies are worth more back then. A child sees a penny on the ground, you pick it up, you have good luck. Isn't that what they say? It's money. Kids love money. So they would take the frying pan and heat up the pennies. Then they would call them red pennies. They'd throw them onto the street. They would throw them out their window and they'd rain down on the street. And kids would pick them up. Like, you would literally watch. Kids would dress up for Ragamuffin Day. It was part of the Thanksgiving Day the kids would walk down the street in their costumes. You would see them coming, and you'd be like, hurry up, Martha, hurry up. She's like, I'm trying, Eddie, I'm trying to get them hotter. And then as the kids were coming closer, you throw the pennies out the window. Now, I don't know why the kids didn't catch on after the third or fourth year that when pennies are falling down from a window, they're probably red hot. But anyways, the kids would reach down, pick them up, horribly burn their hands. Why don't we do stuff like that anymore? Wouldn't that be... I mean, yeah, I get it. Everyone would get sued and little kids with burnt hands. But, you know, you'd get those calluses. It would be good for working in the mines or in the smelting pits back then. So, Red Hot Penny Day. Ragamuffin Day. Ragamuffin Day. We should bring that back. I just found that so... Okay. Kids got horribly hurt. It's still kind of funny. Actually, didn't get horribly hurt. You blister your finger. I mean, unless I guess you picked it up, put it in your pocket, and you were in gasoline in your pants. But that's it. That's really all I could find that was conspiracy related for Thanksgiving. But it's a couple little facts you can tell your relatives. Flip your nephew a penny. Just be like, Uncle, why are you wearing those oven mitts and have that bag of pennies? You're like, you'll see. You'll see. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.